Good morning, leaders. Thank you, Heather, for the opportunity and a very happy new year to everybody. I believe we have goals that we want to achieve. I know a lot of people still set New Year's resolutions. I don't set New Year's resolutions. We focus on goals, and I'm going to help you today to work on the habits that have stopped you from achieving your goals in the previous year. And that is the reason why we were not able to attain some of the goals that we set, is because there's habits that stand in the way. And if we don't take a moment to have a look at what are the habits that are standing in the way, they are going to take over 2024 as well. So it's very imperative that you pay attention this morning. Take a notepad, sit up straight. I know some of you attend the session from the bed. Sit up straight, take a notepad and a pen and write down notes, because if we don't work on our habits, we can set all the goals that we want, but if we don't work on our habits, we will struggle to attain them. Can we move to the next slide? My name is Ama. I am a trained facilitator and a life coach. I am a qualified industrial engineer and I work as a business mindset coach. The reason why I do what I do is when I left engineering in 2014 and I started the world of business, I did not know how much I didn't know about starting or running a business, and that is because our education system does not equip us for the world of business. We are trained to work for the system, and that is why when we start building businesses, we tend to fail. And we fail very quickly because we don't have the necessary skill. It doesn't mean that we don't have the passion or the love for what we want to do. It's because we are not trained to start or run a business. And I failed very quickly. I remember I became so broke fast because I did not know what I was doing. And that caused me to be a bit depressed. And as a result, I actually accumulated a lot of unproductive habits. And luckily, the same year I got into business, I got also my life coach training, and that training was what helped me to get back up, because I used the tools that I got as a life coach to get myself back up, to help me get rid of all these unproductive thinking patterns, the unproductive habits that I had accumulated from having failed or what I deemed as failure. And today I'm going to help you as well to identify the habits that are standing in the way of your success, and show you a very simple tool that you can apply, on a daily basis, that can help you change the habits that you have accumulated. Some you may know, some you may not know. We will get to it shortly. What is a habit? A habit is a routine of behavior that is repeated regularly and tends to occur subconsciously. And it says subconsciously because some habits we accumulate them without us even knowing that we have them. We create these habits because of stress. We create these habits because we want to survive. And if you don't sit down, like I said, to audit these habits that you are continuously, you know, harnessing every day, and you're actually making them stronger and getting them to be rooted in your subconscious. And the more you practice these habits without changing them, especially the unproductive ones, the stronger they get, and the more they become hard to give up. Like the second definition says, a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. So a habit you create on a regular basis every day, and the more it's embedded in your subconscious, the harder it is for you to give up. But the good news is, if you can create anything, you can also change it, because it all starts in your mind. Your mind is a very powerful tool, and if we can learn to use it efficiently, it can work for us. But if we don't learn how it works, it will work against us. Next slide. Habits, habits, habits. Is Heather sleeping? Thank you so much. Why do we have habits? Habits are our brain's way of increasing its efficiency. Our brain turns daily actions and behaviors into habits, so we would do them automatically and without too much thought, thus freeing up our brain power for other more important challenges. This strategy is our brain has wonderful benefits for us. This is good news because the habits were created to help you function, as this definition is giving you that information. And if we are not aware of the the horrible habits that we've harnessed, we won't be able to free up the time. Like it's saying that it needs to free up the brain power for more important challenges. So if we can take a step back and I understand why we have habits in the first place. I mean, we wake up, you don't just wake up and life happens to you on a daily basis. There's certain routines that you get into. Those are your habits. And if you don't take the time to audit how you go about your day and what it is that is taking up all the time in your day, you won't know when to find the time to do attend to the goals that you've set. So our brain has created habits so that it can be efficient. Unfortunately, again, the bad habits can work against us because your brain thinks that it's being efficient, but it's the opposite it's in the opposite direction. And just because your brain doesn't know the difference between wrong and right, it can't tell you now to not do this particular habit because it's wrong. It just continuously does what it is that you're telling it to do. So if it's a bad habit, it will continuously do it because it is programmed to help increase the efficiency of the brain. So because the brain can't tell the difference between wrong and right, when you tell it to do a bad behavior, it will continuously do this because it is programmed to work on this increasing of the efficiency of making sure that whatever habit that you have chosen, it's its job is to make sure that it shows up for your habits on a daily basis, whether they're good or bad. So that is why it's important for you to sit down and identify these bad habits or unproductive habits, as I would like to call them, so that you are able to make use of the brain's efficiency the way it is designed to help you to be efficient on a daily basis. I hope this makes sense. Why do we have bad habits? I'm still on the same slide, Heather, sorry. Why do we have bad habits? Often bad habits develop because we perceive that they bring us some benefit into our lives. For example, some people smoke or overeat because it helps them to combat stress. Other habits develop from social or cultural expectations. We are expected to behave a certain way. When we're in business, we're expected to showcase how we're making profit all the time, and we are not expected to showcase the challenges that we face. And all this is what causes us to create the bad habits because you are like, okay, I'm under pressure to showcase that I am being profitable in business and this is not working out. How do I cope? You take up smoking, you overeat, other people sleep, other people have a habit of, thinking in a negative way. There are many, many horrible habits that we actually take up without us being conscious of this. And without us sitting down and auditing what are these habits that are standing in the way, then we are not able to change them. Let's move to the next slide. I just want to take a poll on a scale of actually, let's do this. Out of the number of habits that you're looking at on this current screen, I need you to tell me, you don't have to write down the habit on the chat. Just tell me how many you identify as the habits that you may have known of that are not productive for you, and others you may not have been aware of. Other habits that we have that are not productive, we think that they are a normal way of our daily lives, whereas that is not the case. For example, talking instead of listening. A lot of people never listen to people. They're always the ones talking. And that is a horrible habit because you never learn anything if you're the one that's always talking. So I'd like you to take a moment and go through this list and be honest with yourself. Because if you don't go through this list, I mean, this is just a few of the items of the unproductive habits that I could think of that I can put in one screen that we make, that we are continuously fertilizing on a daily basis with us being aware or unaware of them. Heather says 4. So how many of these habits you have to work on? Let's go on the chat and four of them. And please note that even if it's just 4 from this list, there might be others that are not on the list that you may be aware of or not aware of. So if there are habits that you are not even aware of, I would advise you to go through at least Google and find out what Google says about unproductive habits. Google as much as you can so that you are aware of yourself and what it is that you need to work on. Because I guarantee you, if you start working on the unproductive habits, you are going to start showing up in a different way for your goals. It's the new year, we have new goals that we have set. But if you have if you know that you have unproductive habits of being on social media all the time without posting your products, without posting your business, and you're just there on TikTok. I know a lot of people who spend a lot of time on TikTok and they are just scrolling the whole day, wasting time that they could be utilizing to promote their businesses, to work on themselves. If you don't find that time to work on those habits or identifying them first and working on them, they are always going to be on the way of your success. Because if you don't find the time to do the daily activities that lead towards you attaining your goals, therefore you are not going to attain the goals. And the goals are not just going to um, magically attain themselves. You have to show up every day. And you getting to your goals is just a bunch of small things that you do every day. Heather will share more of what I shared about consistency in the last year on how to be consistent. If you don't have the time to be, I mean, most of us have daily jobs that we go to, and we do this businesses as a side hustle. And if you don't find the time in your daily activities to show up for your business, then you're never going to attain the goals that you have set. And in order for you to find time in your day to action the goals that you have for your business, and remember, we are moms, we are wives, we are sisters. There's more that we do on a daily basis, and we end the days tired because there is so much to do. But if you don't take the time to look at what is stealing your time, what where do you dedicate your time to, and what can you do to identify gaps that you can utilize to be productive in your business, you are never going to attain your goals. I speak more of consistency. I'm going to come back and share more on consistency and tools that you can make use of to be consistent on a daily basis. But it is time for us to be aware that you're the one that stands between you and the goals that you want to attain. And if you don't sit down and be honest with yourself, I mean, thank you guys for sharing. We've got 5s and 6 and 4s, and that's being honest. You have to sit down and be honest with yourself, because these unproductive habits are not going away. They're not going to dissipate on their own. You have to sit down and work on them. Not only that, you need to also commit. You need to commit on a daily basis. You need to know how to be consistent in the first place in order for you to be able to change these habits. It's one thing us identifying the habits, it's another us working on them on a daily basis, because it's one thing you've written down 5. I hope you're writing them down. Please write them down. Take a screenshot of the screen, but write them down and start asking yourself how you actually created these habits, and commit and tell yourself that you want to change them. Because when you change these unproductive habits, that's when you create the gap for you to be productive and introduce new habits. Um, so please write down the ones that you want to work on, and then you can write as many as you can think of, and remember to Google search more unproductive habits, because I may put up these few on the screen, but you may be having more unproductive habits. I work with my clients who have the opportunity to actually sit down and audit their lifestyles, and we are able to uncover more habits that they may not be aware of on their own, and I'm able to assist them to change those. And it is work, it takes time, but you have to work on yourself, because success is 80% psychology and 20% skill. And if we work mostly on the 20% of working on a daily routines of the business, and we neglect the psychology, you won't show up for the goals that you want, because you have to work on the 80% of the psychology. Anything that you want to attain in life starts in the mind. And if you don't focus on that, then you will never get to the goals that you want. Can we move to the next slide, please? And thank you so much for sharing, being honest with yourselves and sharing what habits that are holding you back. So in order for you to be able to change any habit, I need you to look at the list that you have written down this morning, and then ask yourself, which habit do you want to start working on now, today? Like, what I mean by now, I mean right now, 20 past 5. What habit has been a nightmare for you, that has been standing in the way for you? And you need to be very, very honest with yourself that, you know what, I need to work on this particular habit first, because if I don't change this, nothing is going to change in my goals. And if I don't work on this, nothing is going to change in my team, because I need to show up for them. And in order for you to show up for them, you need to show up for yourself. So you take one. I usually get in my seminars, the number one habit that people always come up with is procrastination. And we think that we procrastinate because um I don't know, we're lazy. There's a whole lot of psychological reasons people think they tend to procrastinate. But we honestly do procrastinate because we are not clear on what we need to be doing. And in order for you to find clarity, you need to sit down and look at what your vision is. What do you want to attain? I think a lot of us are clear on what we want to do this year, because we've sat down and thought of what it is that we didn't attain last year and what you want to change. But in alignment to that, what is it that you are going to change now with the daily habits that you show up for every day? So you've written down your list, you know how many habits you want to work on. So we're gonna pick one. I'm gonna share one that I had to work on when I started the world of business and I failed. One habit that I got in to indulge in was oversleeping. And the reason why I was oversleeping was because I was partially depressed because I failed in business. And I thought, because I'm an educated person, I mean, I'm an engineer, how can I fail at the simple thing of running a business? And I had to learn that I actually did not know I knew how to sit on my desk and, punch numbers and be an engineer and show up for meetings, and I knew how to do that. I knew how to run systems, but I did not know how to run business systems. So I had to learn everything from scratch. But I didn't know this at the beginning. And when I was depressed, one of the things that um, I underwent was crying a lot, because I was in so much pain of not understanding how I got to the place that I got to in such a short period of time. And that led me to sleep a lot, because in my head, I was escaping. Remember, part of one of the definitions was that we tend to create unproductive habits or bad habits because we are trying to survive something. We are trying to go through stress. And I believe that if I sleep a lot, then I don't have to face my reality. So I got to sleep a lot. I would wake up from the bed to get to the couch to sleep some more. because I did not have anything to do, because I had failed from business and I can't go back to my job because in my head, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And how am I going to go back now to the world of engineering if I told everybody that I wanted to be an entrepreneur? So sleeping was one major issue. I mean, if I was the me back then that had to wake up today to be at a 5 a.m. club, that was like, yeah, that was going to be a nightmare for me because I wasn't going to wake up at all. It would feel so painful to just wake up. You know, when you have to wake up kids to go to school, you know how they struggle to wake up. They're like crying, "Mommy, I have a headache. I have this." I would come up with excuses like that because I wanted to sleep some more. And I didn't realize this was just a habit. It wasn't that something that deep. It was just a habit, and I needed to be aware of this. And when I started to regain my strength through different techniques that I had to go through, which I will share throughout the year, I was able to actually I be aware that actually this is just a habit, and since I'm the one who created it, and I didn't, it nobody handed it to me. I'm the one that created it. So the power in this lies in being aware that all the habits that we have, we create them, and it's in our thinking pattern that this whole thing starts. Is how I thought, what was I thinking of that led me to create this habit? And you need to be aware of this before you can change any habit. And you need to know, first of all, also that when we identify unproductive habits, and I say to you that we need to change a habit, I'm not saying that you are going to now focus. I know there's definitions on Google where they tell you it takes 21 days to change a habit and you have to work so hard to change it. No, what we do is you just simply replace a old habit with a new habit. That's all how your mind works. We introduce a new habit, it automatically forgets the old one because it replaces. And how you do that is you clearly identify your bad habit like you have just now, and you've chosen the one that you want to work on. For me, it was oversleeping and sleeping a lot. and and then you write down the long-term effects if this habit is not changed. When I work with my clients, we go through a very long list together of what are the long-term effects. And why we do this is because if you're not aware of how this is affecting you in your life, then you're not going to change it. It's just going to be an exercise that you did with Amma in the morning. She said we must write this down, and then I wrote it down, and then what? If you're not aware deep down, because these long-term effects are there subconsciously, and if you don't bring them to your consciousness, if you don't become aware of them, then you're not going to actually implement the change. You're not going to be aware of how it's badly affecting you. So the long-term effects for me were that I was not able to show up for whatever opportunities that I may have been forwarded to. You know, when you start the world of business, people forward you networking events. But if you were just there depressed and you're sleeping, you're not gonna even take the time to get on a taxi or drive to the event because your priority is sleeping. So I was missing out on a lot of opportunities, and I was not able to wake up in the morning and show up for the day. Therefore, I'll wake up around 12 and my body is exhausted. So those are the long-term effects. If I don't change this habit, I will forever be an exhausted person. I will forever be a person that is wallowing in self-pity. I will forever be a failure that never actually amounted to anything. I will forever. It was a long list that I had to write down. I'm just giving you examples so that you're aware of these effects that may not be on your consciousness. So you have to write down as many as you can think. What this does for you subconsciously is it tells your mind that if I don't change this, nothing is going to change. And if you have a even longer list, I mean, 5 to 10 items under that unproductive habit, it tells your mind that this is not good for me. And you actually realize for yourself that actually I have to change. It compels you to want to change it, as opposed to just writing down the unproductive habit and coming up with a plan to change it. So you have to put down the long-term effect if the habit is not changed. And the next step is you need to define the new successful habit. For me, the unproductive habit was oversleeping, and the new one, I wanted to sleep enough hours. Oh, and the reason for that is I wanted to be productive, and I wanted to, as you write down the new successful habit, write down the successful outcomes of implementing. If I implement the new habit, this is what will happen, which will automatically be the opposite of the long-term effects of if the habit is not changed. So, for example, if you want to change oversleeping, and one of the long-term effects was I never show up for meetings and I will forever be a person with low energy and exhausted. The new now productive effects are I will be an energetic person. If I wake up at 5 a.m., I start the day on time and I am energetic and I am vibrant. So this actually sets your psychology onto a positive note, and you are able to now start working on this habit because you are aware if you don't change it, this is what will happen. And then what you do next is you create three action plans. We could say create one action plan. What are you going to do to stop oversleeping, But I feel it's more effective if you have a minimum of three action plans that you're going to implement to help you work on this unproductive habit. For me was, I know, because one of the things that I used to do when I was oversleeping was snoozing, because why would I wake up if the alarm goes off? Because my habit is to sleep. So I would go back to sleep. So I started looking at the actions that I do around this unproductive habit that I can work on changing. And I realized that I need to nip it in the bud. And that is from when I start waking up. What is the problem with me waking up in the first place in the morning? And I realized that the alarm was working against me. Even today, I don't use the alarm to wake up. I woke up at 3 today because I needed to prep the slides. I was unable to do that last night because I was very exhausted. And I'm well trained in telling my mind to wake up whenever I just tell it with the time and I wake up. But that takes time as well. What I did at the beginning, when I identified this unproductive habit, was the snoozing for me is actually bringing me back to sleep. And snoozing is very unhealthy for your body and all of that. And I started researching what it does for me. So that's another thing that you can do is do research on these long-term effects, get more data on it so that you are compelled to change it. So I started with that and I said, okay, what can I do with this oversleeping and the snoozing? And with the snooze, what I decided was simple tool. I took the alarm, I would take my phone and put it far away from me. So it's gonna ring in the passage of the house. The benefit for that was I actually needed to get up to go switch that off because that will annoy people that I live with. So I would get up, and once you're up, psychologically, your brain, when it's up, like your body, if your physique is up and you're not horizontal, you move from different brain waves and you start to wake up. And the next step for me was for that one was to do the bed, because I needed to challenge my mind and not go back to sleep. Because when I started this, believe you me, you are going to face a few challenges. So one of the challenges was, as much as I made a decision to move the phone away from my bed, the challenge that I faced was I would go back to sleep because I can see the bed now. And remember, I am trained now. I'm a pro at sleeping. So what am I going to first think of? I'm going to think of going back to sleep. But now to challenge my mindset, I needed to think deeper and find out, okay, where am I failing in the system? I realized that, okay, I've successfully implemented the putting away the phone method, but I go back to sleep because I'm very much trained at sleeping. So I looked around and I was like, okay, I need to make the bed so that there is no bed to go back to sleep on. And I successfully did that a few times, and then because your mind is so powerful, it wants to go back to what you trained it to do. It I started going back to sleep on the couch. But I'll train you on how this works. There's a method called the psychocybernetic mechanism where your brain, um, whenever you start to set a goal or start to do something new, it sets you back to the old version of it. That's why some of us are not able to attain. If you have weight goals, you're not able to do that because your mind is programmed to go back to protect you. It's set to protect you, but I'll teach all of that in the weeks to come. So I've had to learn all of that, but in order for you to be successful at this, you have to commit, and whatever it is that you start to plan on, you need to show up for it every day. So I needed to be clear on the steps that I needed to do was move the phone away, do the bed, and now I was starting up new habits. I was moving from the bed to the couch, so I needed to come up with another method from that. So it was a long process, but you need to be conscious of what's working, what's not working. Come back, review, and look at it, and then implement again afresh. Follow the same steps. So I would wake up now, instead of going to the couch, I would go jogging. When I'm out, I'm out. And then when I come back, I'm energized, and then I would start the day. But I had to come up with action plans, different ones. That is why I say come up with three different, as many as you can think of. I mean, you have Google now. You can ask Google to help you of, what can I do to stop myself from this habit? Google will give you ideas, and then pick the ones that you can implement today. I say today because I would like you to start experiencing what it feels like to work on changing any habit. I mean, this may be a habit that you have harbored for years, many, many years. You have struggled with it for so long. Today, make a decision, and it starts with you deciding that you want to change it and commit to it. Show up for it every day. If you must, put it up on the wall and set this habit up on the wall and ask yourself, did I show up for this change today to change this habit? I hope this was very helpful. If you have any questions and you find yourself struggling to implement any new habit, you are more than welcome to WhatsApp me, and we chat about it, and I can assist you because I have many, many, many tools up my sleeve that can help you within your journey. And thank you so much for taking the time to check out my um crazy and colorful slides. And thank you so much, Heather, for the opportunity. I hope this was very helpful for you this morning. Please give me any feedback on WhatsApp and let me know if you are struggling. Do not struggle by yourself. And thank you so much again.